Welcome to the podcast from your RiskFootprint resilience team. We're your pathway to smarter hazard and climate preparedness, offering clear insights, actionable solutions, and expert support to help you safeguard your properties and build true resilience.
All right, let's get right into it. If you're in commercial real estate, you know the game has changed. We're all facing this huge new hurdle, dealing with the very real risks from climate change and wild weather. And look, this isn't some far-off problem anymore, right? It's hitting portfolios right now. But what if I told you there's a new playbook, a proven path to actually turn all that risk into real, measurable resilience? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
First things first, let's just absorb the scale of what we're talking about. Take a look at this map. This isn't a projection or a what if. This is a real snapshot of the billion-dollar disasters that hammered the U.S. in a single year. You've got flooding, hurricanes, wildfires, you name it. The takeaway here, no one gets a pass. No region is safe. This is the new reality we're all operating in.
And for a commercial property, this stuff isn't just an abstract headline. No, it's a direct hit to the bottom line. I'm talking physical damage that leads to downtime, tenants who can't operate, and a real blow to your reputation. So this idea of asset hardening, proactively beefing up a building to withstand these threats, is completely shifted from a nice-to-have luxury to an absolute must-do for anyone serious about asset management. So you might be wondering, how does a massive industry like commercial real estate even begin to get on the same page about this? Well, the answer is you create a common language, a shared process, and that's exactly what just happened. ASTM International, the group that sets technical standards for pretty much everything, has rolled out a brand new standard for resilience. Now, it's super important to understand what this new standard, called a Property Resilience Assessment, or PRA, actually is. It is not a new law you're forced to follow. As you can see here, it's a voluntary best practice. It's smartly designed to just plug right into the due diligence you're already doing, sitting right alongside things like the Phase 1 environmental assessments that are already totally standard for any transaction. The standard itself breaks things down into a pretty logical three-step process. Step 1, you screen the property for potential hazards. Makes sense. Step 3, you recommend actual concrete measures to make the building more resilient. But it's that step in the middle, Step 2, risk and vulnerability evaluation, that's the real game changer. That's where things get both really interesting and pretty challenging. So let's really dig into that challenge, because this new standard is about so much more than just pointing at a problem on a map. Stage 2, that vulnerability part, it introduces this brand new bar for consultants and property owners. It's asking for a whole new level of analysis that goes way beyond just saying, yep, this property is in a flood zone. Which brings us to the million-dollar question, literally. It's the one every owner, every lender, every investor is asking. If you're going to spend serious money on an upgrade, let's say elevating your HVAC systems or strengthening the roof, how do you actually prove it was worth it? How do you put a number on the return on that resilience investment? And here's the thing, you don't have to take my word for it. It's spelled out right here in the actual text of the standard. Section 9.11.1 says consultants have to, and I'm quoting here, demonstrate the expected difference. That's not a suggestion. It's a requirement to show the before and after in cold, hard numbers. You have to calculate the expected damage and loss without the upgrades and then show exactly how much better it gets with them. So how in the world do you do that? Well, I can tell you that your generic climate risk score isn't going to cut it, not even close. To meet this new requirement, you need a highly specialized tool, and that tool is the HAZIS engine. This is the key that unlocks the ability to go from vague risk scores to specific dollars and cents solutions for a single property.
So what is HAZIS? Put simply, it's a standardized loss estimation model that was actually developed by FEMA. It is the nationally recognized methodology for calculating potential financial and physical losses from big disasters like floods, hurricanes, and earthquakes. And crucially, it's not some proprietary black box. It's a public, science-based, and defensible tool.
And this slide really nails the difference. We've all seen those generic climate scores, right? The ones that might give a whole zip code a high-risk rating. That's fine for a broad overview, but you can't make a multi-million-dollar investment decision based on it. HAZIS is a different beast entirely. It gives you an engineering-grade loss estimate for one specific building, which is exactly what the ASTM standard is demanding for that before and after calculation.
The real power of HAZIS comes from the data it uses. It's not just looking at a pin on a map.
No, it uses the actual details of your building, its specific elevation, its construction type, the kind of roof it has. Then, it applies established engineering models to spit out real, tangible outputs, dollar losses, and how long it would take to get back up and running. And here's the kicker. It's literally built to model how those numbers change after you make improvements.
Okay, so you might be thinking, HAZUS sounds amazing, but it also sounds incredibly complicated. And you'd be right. It's an unbelievably powerful engine, but running it correctly is not a simple task. For most CRE firms and consultants, it's just not practical to do in-house. So, how do you get access to that power? Well, that's where RiskFootprint comes in.
Let's just be blunt about it. Running these kinds of complex models takes some serious, specialized expertise. RiskFootprint has basically built their entire company around solving this exact problem. They take all the complexity of HAZUS and operationalize it, meaning they've turned it into a simple, turnkey service that plugs directly into the property condition assessment workflows that consultants are already using every single day.
And they don't just hand you a report and walk away. They have a clear step-by-step process. They can start big by screening your whole portfolio to flag the highest risk properties. Then, for those assets, they dive deep. They run the HAZUS calculations to get those damage and loss numbers, they estimate the cost for potential fixes, and they deliver a full-blown set of actionable solutions you can actually implement. It's a true end-to-end service. So, what does this all boil down to? When you use RiskFootprint service, powered by HAZUS, you're getting an analysis that is perfectly aligned with that new ASTM standard. You get a scientifically defensible way to calculate that critical before and after ROI. And maybe most importantly for consultants, using a standardized, engineering-grade method like this is the single best way to protect yourself from errors and omissions liability. I mean, it really couldn't be any clearer. The rules have changed. The expectation for how you quantify physical risk is now written down in a national standard. If you try to meet that new higher bar with old tools or generic scores, you're leaving yourself and your clients exposed, period. Using the right tool for the job, using RiskFootprint, means you're protected.
And that's really the question everyone in commercial real estate needs to ask themselves right now. In this new era of climate risk, are you making multi-million-dollar asset decisions based on a hunch, on guesswork? Or are you building your strategy on a foundation of hard numbers and a truly defensible return on investment? The path to that defensible ROI is now here, and it's clearer than ever.
Thank you for joining us on this podcast. To learn more, visit riskfootprint.com.